Winter is here, and with it comes a sense of anticipation and uncertainty. Across cities and towns, people are bracing themselves for what the season might bring. The air is crisp, snowflakes drift down, and everywhere you look, folks are bundling up in scarves and heavy coats, preparing for the cold months ahead. And everyone's asking the same question: will this winter be mild and manageable, or are we in for a deep freeze that will test our limits? Families gather by frosted windows, checking the latest forecasts on their phones, while commuters hurry through crowded, chilly streets, wondering what's in store. The answer to this winter's fate may hinge on a powerful phenomenon high above the Arctic: the polar vortex. This isn't science fiction. It's a real dynamic force that has a huge impact on our winter weather patterns. Meteorologists around the world are watching it closely, because when the polar vortex acts up, it can change everything. The polar vortex is a massive circulation of frigid air, spinning high above the North Pole in the stratosphere. Normally, it's held in place by strong, fast-moving winds that keep the cold air locked up far to the north. But sometimes, those winds weaken, and the vortex wobbles or even splits apart. When that happens, icy Arctic air can spill southward, plunging regions into sudden, severe cold snaps and turning ordinary winters into headline-making events with blizzards and record lows. This year, meteorologists are especially vigilant, watching for early signs of a possible split in January 2026. Advanced weather models and satellite data are being analyzed daily to track any changes in the vortex's behavior. If a split does occur, it could mean record-breaking cold and major snowstorms for huge parts of North America, Europe, and Asia. Cities could see streets buried in snow, while rural areas might face dangerous blizzards and icy conditions. In this video, we'll break down exactly what the polar vortex is, how it works, and why it's so important for our winter weather. We'll explore why the vortex sometimes breaks apart, what triggers these dramatic shifts, and how scientists use cutting-edge technology to monitor its every move. Plus, we'll look at the latest data and weather models to see what they're predicting for this winter, and what you should be watching for in the weeks ahead. We'll also revisit some of the most memorable polar vortex events from the past, seeing how communities coped with extreme cold and snow, and what lessons we can learn from those experiences. And most importantly, we'll share practical tips on how you can prepare, whether it's stocking up on essentials, winterizing your home, or making sure your car is ready for icy roads. This is the winter weather story to watch, and we'll make sure you're ready for whatever comes your way. So grab a warm drink, settle in, and let's dive into the science, the stories, and the strategies for facing this winter's biggest weather challenge. The polar vortex isn't a storm. It's a vast, swirling pool of some of the coldest air on the planet, sitting high above the Earth's surface. Imagine a gigantic, invisible ring of icy wind, circling the Arctic like a spinning top. This isn't something that comes and goes with the seasons. It's a permanent feature of our atmosphere, always lurking above the North and South poles. The polar vortex forms in the stratosphere, which is a layer of the atmosphere about 10 to 50 kilometers above our heads. Up there, the air is thin, cold, and moves in powerful circular currents, especially during the dark winter months when the sun barely rises over the poles. While both the North and South poles have their own polar vortex, it's the northern one that really impacts our winter weather in North America, Europe, and Asia. This swirling mass of cold air acts like a reservoir, holding back the harshest Arctic temperatures from spilling south. Strong winds, known as the polar night jet, whip around the vortex's edge, creating a kind of atmospheric fence. This jet stream is what keeps the coldest air bottled up over the Arctic, preventing it from reaching lower latitudes most of the time. When the vortex is stable and the polar night jet is strong, winters in the US and Europe tend to be milder, with fewer extreme cold snaps and less severe winter storms. The cold air stays locked away, and we get more typical winter weather. But the atmosphere is a dynamic place. Sometimes, powerful weather systems in the lower atmosphere, like big storms or unusual wind patterns, send waves of energy upward. These waves can disturb the polar vortex, shaking it up from below. These disturbances, called planetary waves, can stretch, shift, or even split the vortex apart. When this happens, a dramatic event known as sudden stratospheric warming can occur, where temperatures in the stratosphere rise rapidly and the vortex loses its grip. When the fence breaks down, the cold Arctic air that was trapped suddenly escapes, surging southward into areas that aren't prepared for such frigid conditions. This is vortex making headlines. The effects of a disrupted vortex don't happen overnight. It can take a week or two for the changes to work their way down to the surface, but when they do, they can dramatically reshape weather patterns for weeks or even months, bringing prolonged cold spells and unusual storms. That's when we see unexpected snowstorms in places like Texas or Greece, and major winter weather events in regions that rarely experience such extremes. The polar vortex can turn an ordinary winter into one for the record books. Meteorologists and climate scientists closely monitor the polar vortex, using satellites and computer models to track its strength and predict when it might weaken or break apart. Understanding this process is crucial for forecasting extreme winter weather and helping communities prepare. The big question every winter is, will the polar vortex stay strong and stable, or will it weaken and unleash Arctic air on the rest of us? It's a puzzle that keeps scientists on their toes every year. So, what's happening with the polar vortex right now? Let's take a closer look at the latest data and see what this winter might have in store. As of early December 2025, the polar vortex is exceptionally strong, spinning high above the Arctic Circle. This swirling mass of cold, dense air is a key player in shaping winter weather patterns across the northern hemisphere. Right now, it's centered directly over the Arctic, exactly where meteorologists expect it to be at this time of year, acting as a barrier that keeps the coldest air locked up near the pole. Inside the vortex, temperatures are brutally frigid, plunging far below freezing. The winds are howling at incredible speeds, circling the pole and trapping the icy air in place, preventing it from spilling southward into lower latitudes. But even as the vortex appears stable, meteorologists are detecting subtle but important changes. Early signs of warming are beginning to emerge over Siberia and the North Pacific, regions that often play a crucial role in disrupting the vortex's stability. These warming areas are sending up the first ripples, known as planetary waves, into the stratosphere. These waves can disturb the vortex, causing it to weaken or even break apart if they grow strong enough. For now, the vortex is like a spinning top, steady and powerful, but with a slight wobble that hints at potential instability. It's holding firm, but the balance is delicate. The next few weeks are absolutely critical. Meteorologists are watching closely as the calendar advances, knowing that any significant changes could set the stage for dramatic shifts in winter weather. If these warming regions continue to intensify, they could destabilize the vortex, making it more likely that cold Arctic air will escape and surge southward. That's why meteorologists are on the lookout for signs of a sudden stratospheric warming event, a dramatic spike in temperatures high above the pole that can shatter the vortex's stability. If enough pressure builds, the vortex could split apart, sending frigid Arctic air plunging into North America, Europe, or Asia, and triggering extreme winter weather far from the pole. For now, it's a waiting game. Meteorologists are glued to their screens, analyzing every new data point, searching for the earliest hints of a major shift. The seeds of a major event may be forming right now, hidden in the swirling patterns of the upper atmosphere. Around the world, meteorologists are on high alert, ready to issue warnings if the vortex shows signs of breaking down. What happens next could define the rest of winter, determining whether we see mild conditions or face a season of intense cold and snow. The world is watching, and the outcome hangs in the balance. Looking ahead, the world's top weather models, ECMWF and GFS, are both signaling a major event in January 2026. They're forecasting a powerful sudden stratospheric warming, with planetary waves slamming into the vortex and rapidly warming the stratosphere. The model suggests the vortex could split into two, with one piece over North America and the other over Eurasia. This is the most dramatic scenario, often leading to persistent, widespread cold. The timing is still uncertain. Some models say early January, others mid-month, but the agreement is striking. When models align like this, confidence in a major disruption grows. It's not a guarantee, but the risk is much higher than usual. If the split happens, millions could face weeks of severe winter weather. We're watching the models closely for any changes. The stage is set for a potentially historic winter. If the vortex splits, the impact on our weather will be immediate and dramatic. Arctic air, usually trapped in the far north, will surge south, bringing temperatures 30 to 40 degrees below normal. This isn't just a cold snap, it's a deep freeze that can last for weeks. The jet stream will become wavy, creating pathways for cold air and breeding grounds for major winter storms. Cities like Boston, New York, and Washington, D.C. could see blockbuster snow events. The pattern can lock in, with repeated cold blasts and little relief. Power grids, travel, and daily life could all be disrupted. Heating costs will spike, and vulnerable populations will be at risk. This is more than just bundling up. It's a fundamental shift in the winter pattern. The effects could ripple across continents. Preparation is key. Let's see what history can teach us. The winter of 2013-2014 showed us what a split polar vortex can do. A sudden stratospheric warming event sent Arctic air plunging deep into North America. Cities like Chicago and Minneapolis saw record-breaking cold, colder than parts of Mars. Wind chills hit -50 to -60 degrees Fahrenheit, and the term Chiberia was born. The cold reached as far south as Atlanta and Florida, freezing fountains and shocking residents. Infrastructure struggled, burst pipes, flight cancellations, and energy grid strain became daily news. The cold pattern lingered for weeks, with multiple Arctic blasts. That event taught us how vulnerable we are, and how important early warning is. Today, we have better models and more lead time to prepare. The lessons of 2014 are guiding us as we watch for another major event. Meteorologists agree, the risk of a major sudden stratospheric warming and vortex split is higher than normal this winter. Experts like Dr. Judah Cohen point to factors like Siberian snow cover and ocean temperatures as warning signs. Both American and European models are in rare agreement, boosting confidence in a high-impact event. The main questions now are how strong the disruption will be and where the coldest air will go. Experts urge the public to take this seriously and use the advance notice to prepare. This isn't hype. It's a real, potentially dangerous pattern. Stay informed and ready. Preparation starts at home. Check weather stripping, add insulation, and protect your pipes from freezing. Make sure your car has a winter emergency kit: blankets, gloves, flashlight, snacks, and water. Keep your gas tank at least half full to prevent freezing. Refresh your home emergency kit with batteries, food, and water for at least 3 days. Dress in layers if you must go outside, and watch for signs of frostbite or hypothermia. Limit time outdoors during extreme cold. Check on neighbors, especially the elderly and families with young children. Extreme cold is dangerous for vulnerable groups. Being prepared protects you and your community. A little planning now can make a big difference when the cold hits. To sum up, the polar vortex is strong now, but models point to a likely split in January 2026. If it happens, expect prolonged, dangerous cold and major storms across North America and Eurasia. We've seen this before, in 2014, and we know how disruptive it can be. The good news? We have weeks of advance warning. Use this time to get your home, car, and family ready. Watch the forecast for updates on the vortex and sudden stratospheric warming. Meteorologists are tracking every development. Don't panic, but be aware and prepared. Winter's biggest story is unfolding, and you'll have the latest right here. Stay warm and stay tuned.